psych rock will always have a special place in my heart. It's a big part of my gigging and listening history. Now, it's a massive genre that spans many decades with many subgenres splintering off of it, so today we're just going to look at some of the stuff from the late 90s and early 2000s. Sweden's Dungen, who influenced Australia's Tame Impala, and then in the States we'll take a look at Lilies from the East Coast, and on the West Coast, Brian Jonestown Massacre, who influenced the Warlocks. And of course, in dissecting some of these tracks, we're going to take note of the arrangement choices that make a song sound trippy and psychedelic. This video is sponsored by TrueFire.com, the world's largest online library of interactive music lessons taught by legendary instructors and folks like me. I make several courses a year. Here's a cool thing about TrueFire. If you don't know what course you might want to download, you could sign up for 1 year of all access. With that, you still get the on-screen tabs and backing tracks to practice along with, as well as 25% off downloads if you decide to download a course. Personally, I like it as just an interview library because they have so many legends on there. Check the description box below for the link to get 1 year of all access. By the way, tabs and backing tracks for this lesson are available a la carte on my website or through Patreon membership. Now, if psych rock music came about in the mid-60s with the rise of, well, psychedelic drugs, let's loosely define some of its characteristics. It can be noisy, dreamy, drony, ruminative, yes, but also challenging and surprising. In many ways, it is kind of the music of the inner mind. Briefly, let's cover some ground up to the 90s. I invite Jay from Sloan to do a more in-depth version. He's got a really great record collecting channel. But anyway, here's some of the obvious first-generation psych. Pink Floyd's first record, super cool. Obviously, we got Beatles' Sgt. Pepper, which then the Stones answered with, yeah, this is from Andrea's dad's record collection. This is one of the original, Her Satanic Majesty's Request. I don't know if it's coming out, the fun cover. What else do I have here? Of course, The Doors. I love The Doors.
This is the best part of the trip. This is the trip, the best part. I really like. What did he say?
But a little bit lesser known, we got the 13th Floor Elevators. Really cool. Kind of more on the garage rock side of things. In Germany, we got Can. A band that is definitely, I mean, all these albums are worthy of a whole separate video. This is a really cool one. Bee Gees' 1968 record. It's called First, but it's their third record. You'd be surprised at how trippy this record is. Yeah, people think the Bee Gees are disco. They weren't always. Of course, you know, if we know about The Doors, there's also Love Forever Changes. This is a great record. Going down to Brazil, Os Mutantes, another surprisingly cool, groovy, you know, psychedelic record that obviously, because it's Brazilian, it's got a little more of that flavor to it. And what's another one? Oh yeah. You know, this is musicians, you know, we all, psych rock musicians all know the Nuggets box set. In fact, I played, you know, this is just a collection of kind of rarities and B-sides and singles. I played in a Nuggets cover band for a minute. It was a fun gig. In the 70s, psych kind of splinters out, you know, with elements of its sound appearing in, you know, stoner rock, prog, jazz fusion, and, you know, blues rock from that era. So it's a little hard to, you know, say what I would exactly call is, oh yeah, this is a psych rock band from the 70s. And it's kind of same in the 80s. Like, the sound is around, you know, with, well, Echo and the Bunnymen, who else? The Church, the Jesus and the Mary Chain, Galaxy 500, and maybe let's credit Spacemen 3 with sort of really bringing it back to the more 60s sounding stuff, and they started in the 80s and went into the 90s. So then with the alternative boom of the 90s, sure, we're going to hear it with Spiritualized, Mercury Rev, Flaming Lips. Am I forgetting anybody? Oh yeah, My Bloody Valentine. And then, so me mentioning My Bloody Valentine, shoegaze is definitely a genre that, you know, kind of walks hand in hand with neo-psych. So again, these lines are not hard lines. It's, you know, very, very subjective. As we get to the early 2000s, we do get to some stuff that I was directly involved with, like Boston's Apollo Sunshine. I dug out some old photos. So we got That's gotta be 22-year-old Eric with Sam Cohen and Jeremy Black, and then, yeah, there's good old Jesse Gallagher with my mom. I think that's at our college graduation. Now, I left Apollo Sunshine before they did their first record. I went down to Chapel Hill to start my own project, Fake Swedish, and yeah, I also do stuff under my own name. But, speaking of Swedish, let's talk about Dungen. They are led by the talented multi-instrumentalist Gustav Eistis, who sings, plays guitar, bass, keys, and drums, kinda like Mitch Mitchell. But the colorful, fuzzed-out lead guitar is played by the great Raina Fisk. This record here, Tada Lungt, does have some mythology around it, so I dug up some additional info on forums and Tape Op magazine. The first interesting thing is that it was recorded on Gustav's family farm in a converted barn in rural Sweden. Now, he did rent some good preamps and mics, but it was all going into apparently a Fostex 16-track Porta-Studio. In fact, some of the guitar parts are pedals going right into a Line 6 pod. But it was mixed at a proper studio, and in fact, some of the tracks were cut at a proper studio. A lot of folks are fans of this band, including our next artist, Tame Impala. In fact, there is an anecdote that Kevin Parker reached out to Gustav and Dungen to have them mix some of his early recordings, to which Gustav graciously replied, "No, we don't have to mix it. What should we do? Just put it out. It's amazing as is. Band friends." So sure, there's gonna be some similarities to Dungen with this record. The ruminative jazziness, the dreamy vocal takes, the grainy drum sounds, but really, that stuff is characteristic of just about any cool psych rock. And like Gustav, Kevin Parker is a talented multi-instrumentalist and home recorder. This record was also recorded in a rural home studio, this one being the off-the-grid Wave House. Here's an interesting connection though. This one was mixed by Dave Friedman, bassist from Mercury Rev, who also produced The Flaming Lips, The Soft Bulletin, Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots, and MGMT Oracular Spectacular. Small World. Speaking of Small World, Lilies are a great band that several of my close friends have played in, and they had nothing but wonderful things to say about this sweet man. Kurt Heasley tends to recruit different musicians for just about every recording project, kind of has his vision and inspiration shift. So that track I just played was from Exame the Photon Band, featuring the Photon Band. This is the one that features some of my old friends, Jamie Robinson and Chris Powell. I keep in good touch with Chris Powell, and I gave him a call to see what he remembers about that session. The days were long, but relaxed, with a lot of time spent chatting and drinking tea and just talking about music and anything in general before they eventually got down to recording, and so everything just kind of came together very smoothly. Now that vibe totally checks out because I got in touch with Kurt himself to ask about maybe his references or inspiration around that time, and he was very genuine and helpful. His reply: "I will send you a song from an album I've played during every recording session I've been part of since 1987. Enjoy." Hopefully this finds all manner of things well with your beautiful enterprise. Now, Lilies are East Coast, and Brian Jonestown Massacre is West Coast, but there's a connection here too. They're buddies, and in fact Kurt sings on this Brian Jonestown Massacre track. I just rewatched the Brian Jonestown Massacre documentary Dig in preparation for this vid. Now, of course, that film is edited to ramp up the chaos, but I think it's fair to say Brian Jonestown Massacre, led by Anton Newcomb, are the rawest, wildest, and most rebellious of the neo-psych bands of that era. Also, though, probably the most prolific and the most influential. I invite anybody who has some good Brian Jonestown Massacre stories to share them in the comments below. I'm sure we'd all like to read them. Brian Jonestown Massacre, there's of course the connection to the Dandy Warhols and the spin-off Peter Hayes' Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. But there's one last artist we're going to leapfrog to today, and that's the Warlocks. In choosing that name, there's got to be a little bit of a nod to the Velvet Underground, who briefly played under that moniker, as well as, the Grateful Dead, too. Bobby Heckscher, leader of the Warlocks, came to LA originally as a bass player. In fact, you can hear him on some early Beck tracks. Bobby Heckscher and Anton Newcomb lived together at some point in the late 90s, like after the Dig documentary. So I think Bobby actually played in Brian Jonestown Massacre after Matt Hollywood left. But it was Anton Newcomb who heard Bobby singing in some of his early songs and was like, hey man, you should pursue that. You should be a songwriter. And so let's credit Anton with pushing Bobby to pursue that, because I really like the Warlocks and I really like Bobby's voice. It has like a unique cutting quality that, especially with the way he records with this wall of sound, sometimes 2 drummers and like 6 guitar players, it cuts real well. Enough talking, let's play. One of the first things about Psych music is drone and jangle, like in Lily's The Any Several Sundays. The thing about drone is it can be very simple. This is a great riff. That's all it is. And I think that Kurt leaves this index finger down. As it gets into the verse. And then there is a really interesting thing in the turnaround. Kurt goes to a G. And then maybe a... While he's doing that, though, Don DeVore on the upper guitar is doing a G. But then he's doing a D against that. You do get what is called a polychord. I mean, it's just, a cool mess. Sticking with the theme of drone and layers, let's take a look at Warlocks. Real quick, this is, what is this? This is one of the new Harmony Jupiter thin lines. Boy, it's light as a feather. Gold foil, mini humbucker, locking tuners, stays in tune great. Made in America at the Kalamazoo, Michigan factory. Yeah, it's funny. You see Harmony, and I have old Harmonies, which are kind of thought of as junky, funky old guitars, but these new ones are actually, these are high quality instruments. But anyway, we got this real, speaking of drone, this simple riff in Warlocks Come Save Us. I should point out for my overdrive, I'm actually using the built-in MOSFET boost on this new Dusky amp, the Proxima A. Pretty cool that he put that in there. Yeah, so notice that B string is just there up top the whole time. That record, Warlock Surgery, was produced by Tom Rothrock, great producer who did, Beck, Elliott Smith, a bunch of stuff, just so many things. So it has a really big, full sound on that record. And one of the really cool things that happens in the verse to the chorus of that song, the old quiet to loud, everything's up the octave, even the bass is up the octave, and then woof, it drops to do, just this big droning. Everybody, but then you do have to be a little bit careful. That B is still there. I think another thing that's appealing about Psych is, how it deals with blues progressions and the blues scale, like Brian Jonestown Massacre. Servo, it's a blues. you know, that's pretty garage blues, but then you have this great hook. I'm not sure if Anton played it or if Jeff played it, but I love this hook. That little unpredictable tone right here, that's the 9th of the scale. You can actually always add that note back into the blues scale. Just a great little Donovan-esque kind of song. Another feature of psych rock, fuzz and delay. There's a really cool moment on Dungen's Panda that is Raina Fisk doing a 3-part guitar harmony. Okay, we'll leave the fuzz on and walk it through. First layer. So it's E minor. Kind of a passing B minor to a D major 7, right? Yeah. And then a surprise chord, F sharp, major 7. So then there's a voice that's a third higher. But when it gets to F major 7, there's this really wild leap. Oh, sorry, F sharp major 7. And then the third voice. Way up high for that F sharp major 7. Let's hear them all together. On the actual track, I think what they did was they mixed that guitar harmony down and put it off to one side and then fed it to a delay and put that a little more up the middle. You could even see it in the waveform. Here's that trippy little slide part on Dungen's Fredag. Because what are the changes on that? Oh, it's C sharp minor 9, a quick F sharp, an E flat major 7, or no, E major 7, A, passing down to that, and then, oh yeah, E over G sharp. Yeah, Dungen and Tame Impala are, yeah, the jazziest of the artists I'm referencing today. Cool little. I could see the A there. And we can't talk about Psych without talking about like Beatlesy counterpoint bass lines, like in Tame Impala's, what's that opening track? It Is Not Meant to Be. So Kevin laid down this thing. That's a slow phaser on that, slow phase 90. And it's kind of neat. You know, the whatever chord that is decided by the bass. So, okay, let's get a bass out. Got my older brother's Crafted in Japan jazz bass, the photo flame finish. Great old jazz bass. I've used this all the time. But anyway, so it's G Dorian. Kind of, yeah, lead bass on that one. So Dorian, just review, minor scale with that happy raised 6th note. It's the jazzy minor, it's the psychedelic minor. It's also a little bit like medieval, but anyway. Big slide, and then even a bigger one. And then we have a nice little. Very McCartney. Thanks again to Chris Powell and Kurt Heasley. And hey, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. That costs you nothing and helps me out a lot when people do that. Videos like this take an awful lot to put together in terms of transcribing, scripting, making the backing tracks, making the tab files, putting it all together, and then oftentimes they get demonetized by YouTube. So if you'd like to help me out and continuing to make content like this, consider supporting me on Patreon or buying one of my courses. As Bill and Ted would say, be excellent to each other. That includes yourself. I'm taking a couple of weeks off for summer vacation, so I'll see you, I don't know, sometime in the middle of July.